Greetings, Piper people. I hope you're doing well. Today, I want to talk about media a little bit further. We've been talking about in our bias, the last video, we've been talking about how social media has been working, and we talked about algorithms and tracking information and all of those kind of things, right? So today, I want to talk about and introduce the idea of big data. Have you ever heard that term? So, big data is how social media companies and advertising companies and politicians and all these different kind of entities can track information, but with millions and millions of data points. So, for instance, like social media companies like TikTok will track millions of users, not just you. TikTok can look at you and look at your behavior and how many times you watch a video or how long you watch videos and all those kind of things. But they will track every user and look at how many people watch those cute cat videos or whatever videos. And they're looking at the ads, how many people are looking at this kind of ad versus that kind of ad and all this kind of stuff. So they're looking at millions and millions of data points. So it's kind of like this more global perspective. We can put it in a different idea, like an analogy. Think of think of what it would look like if you were standing on the top of a mountain and looking at the landscape. You could see for miles, right? Well, what if you were, say, flying at like 30,000 feet, 40,000 feet? The perspective between standing on top of, say, like a 2,000 or 3,000 foot high mountain versus 40,000 feet, the landscape looks a lot different. Well, what if you are an astronaut looking at the Earth? That's huge, right? Look at that massive amount of information, and you're looking at it all at once. So big data allows us to zoom out for a more global perspective. We can look at trends in advertising. We could look at like the housing market. We could look at different patterns of behavior. And we could look at a lot of information. We could even predict what types of behavior people might look at, maybe in fashion trends or any kind of behavior we can think of, which is kind of beneficial, but also kind of scary, right? So, how does this kind of help us? Well, I've got a couple charts that I want to talk about. But before, I want to talk about this company that I think you're going to find really interesting. And this is going to help us as we start getting into our bias analysis project. So let me get up our PowerPoint and see what we can find. Well, I can look at it. Okay. So all right, so let's talk about this media bias chart. This is from Adfontes Media. Let me talk about the company a little bit. Adfontesmedia.com. It is a for-profit, I can't even talk today, for-profit business. They're based in Colorado and they're funded. They have a variety of products and services that they do. They're known for their actual bias media or media bias chart. And what they do, they rate news. They look at a lot of different media outlets and they want to rate news. They say that they want to positively transform society. Now, what they have and the way that they do this, they have over 40 human analysts. They're not using AI to do this. So we're going to talk about the methodology in just a minute. But they have analysts from across the political spectrum. So they have people on the left, they have people in the center, and they have people on the right. So they're not just having a couple people do this, they have a lot of different analysts do this, but they have it from all all across that political spectrum. So they're not doing any kind of biased research here. Now, how do they benefit us? This research can be used in a variety of ways. So us as students and educators can use it. Researchers, media consumers, especially for us that use and consume media all the time. A lot of advertisers will use their information because they're looking at where the information is coming from. Social media platforms use their information, maybe even like where they want to advertise. Businesses, politicians, a lot of people are using their information here, so it's really cool. So now, what is a methodology? So a methodology is going to be really important. A methodology in research has three main components, and you can look up like official definitions, but here's the three main components. What did you do in your research? How did you actually do it? And then why did you choose to do it this way? So as we do our research projects, then methodology is going to be really important, especially when we get into our argumentative research. So what do? They analyze, Advantis Media analyzes news articles and podcasts, TV episodes, all that, to chart news article ratings. Now, how do they do it? They have a rubric that they use to determine political bias and source reliability. They meet together. They read the articles, they watch the episodes, they listen to the podcast, they meet together and they make final determinations per each article, per each podcast, per each TV episode. They meet together and decide, is their scoring consistent? And it's really interesting. On the website, you can even watch how they do it. They have a sample. Now, why do they choose to do it this way? The rubric is for consistency, for accuracy, and they have done this for thousands and thousands and thousands of manually rated data sets. They believe that their manually rated data set is the largest in the world. This is actually pretty cool when you think about it, because this is human rated data. It's not AI driven. So for this to be human rated, this is a lot of work. Now, let's look at this chart. This one is from 2018, January 2018. And I know it looks like a lot of information. It really is, but let's kind of break it down. If you look at the top, this goes across the political spectrum. So most extreme liberal on the left. In the center, we see neutral, means minimal partisan bias or a balance of biases. And then on the far right, most extreme conservative. So that is the political spectrum. On the left side of the chart, we're looking at the overall quality of the information. At the top, we see original fact reporting. That has to do with the quality of the reporting itself. So this has to do with, like, say, a news organization where they're just giving you information. So say the local convenience store has a 5 alarm fire. Something happened to cause a fire and it started at 5 o'clock in the morning. We know that there's a fire, and the local fire station reported at 5 o'clock in the morning they had 2 trucks out, and this is what is happening. They're just giving you the information. So they're not telling you how to think about it. They're not telling you what to think other than providing the information. They're giving you the news. That's it. It's original fact reporting. That's it. Now, towards the middle, they have some fair persuasion. They're giving you some opinions. They're telling you, well, this is very concerning to local businesses. That convenience store is very close, like geographically, to other businesses. There's a school. I don't know, like if you know Poto, say if it's at the local subway, well, there's some other businesses that are close by. It's close to a bank. It's just across the street at an angle from the high school. This could be, if the subway's going down, this could be very concerning to a lot of people. The traffic coming around that curve, this is very concerning. Well, if I'm watching this on the local news, I'm concerned. I could be persuaded to be concerned on this. Well, that's pretty fair. Now, if we go below this selective or incomplete story, unfair persuasion, if this media outlet starts saying, well, I wonder, did somebody start the fire? Are they trying to get insurance money? Or is something going on that we don't know about? Okay, that's kind of unfair here. What's happening? What's going on? They start kind of giving us a skewed story a little bit. That's unfair. This isn't necessarily just news reporting. Now we're skewing the story somewhat. Towards the bottom, where it contains inaccurate, fabricated information, this is where we start lying. Like if somebody, what if it was a bomb or something? Okay, now we're starting to cause problems. We're starting to damage people here. We can't have that in the news, right? That's not news. Now, on the right-hand side, we see a key. It says circles and ellipses that represent a range of stories within a source. Now, if you look at some of these icons, if you see in the center here, you might see CNN. There's a circle and there's some ellipses. So these ovals. Now, CNN is located right close to the center. It leans kind of skews left a little bit. Now, maybe most of the stories for CNN is right where the icon is, but they're located within a range. So some of the stories will be pure news. They might be right in the center, but some of them will lean left, some of them will lean far right. It just depends on the story, the content of the story. So that's where the range comes in. But if you see these blocks here, we see the colored blocks. There's a green block. So anything within the green block, that has to do with news. So like I said, that the fact reporting kind of thing. So if you see AP, that's Associated Press. The Associated Press is like the gold standard of news reporting. AP style. When I'm teaching journalism courses and we talk about AP style, that is the gold standard. This is the style, the writing style of journalism. So AP, that's what we try to do is a gold standard. Reuters, Bloomberg. You'll see the local newspaper in a conservative city, the local newspaper in a liberal city, BBC, New York Times skews a little bit left, the Wall Street Journal skews a little bit towards the right. Now, the yellow, that is fair interpretations of the news. You'll see that we start getting towards hyper-partisan liberal and hyper-partisan conservative, but they're fair. Now, we also have in our previous notes, I mentioned the Daily Beast as a website that was definitely biased. Well, you can see that they've got some fair interpretations, but again, there's still ellipses. They've got some unfair. So you kind of have to make sure that you know where they stand. In the orange rectangle, that is unfair interpretations of the news. We know that those are going to be hyper partisan. We know that those are definitely going to be biased. The red rectangle, that is a danger zone. Anything in the red is going to be nonsense. It's going to be dangerous, damaging to the public discourse. Now, the public discourse means the public conversation. So anything with a discourse, a conversation, damaging to the public. This is a bunch of lies. This is a bunch of areas where there might be conspiracy theories. That doesn't mean that they're only lies. This could be where they're taking the truth and skewing it so outrageously that it creates damaging discourse. So what you're going to see here is where there's a definite difference in how the different media outlets are shifting from the center news. And then you're going to see as we move towards the outside of the chart, where we see more hyperpartisan towards the extreme as we move towards the bottom. Now, as we move to the next slide, this is 2018 in January. We're going to move to 2023, and I want you to see the difference. When we look at 2018 on the bottom chord towards the bottom, you're going to see Fox News Daily Wire. You'll see Breitbart. You'll see InfoWars. On the right, or excuse me, on the left, you're going to see like MSNBC. You'll see CNN. You'll see other areas. We're going to see some changes in 2023. Now the chart has changed. We see some updated, and it's only been a few years. So we don't see the ellipses and the circles anymore, but keep in mind that there are still the ranges, okay? Now we see some updated information. We're going to see some new outlets here. That doesn't mean that those old outlets aren't there. But we do see some updated outlets coming in. That means that we have more information coming forward, that they're seeing new voices coming in, but we also see that there's some changes, right? So I want you to notice at the very top, we see the political spectrum at the top. We do see the middle has been clarified. It's not necessarily the balance of biases. It's still the same thing. They've just clarified the chart. On the left-hand side, that spectrum has been clarified a little bit further. Instead of saying overall quality, they say news value and reliability. So they're clarifying the chart a little bit further so we understand it a little bit more, right? Now, the news outlets, the media outlets, let's look at those. So if you see where Fox News isn't just Fox News anymore, if you look closely, look closely, you're going to see that Fox News has been shifted a little bit. It's been separated. So Fox News Daily Wire is no longer there. We see Tucker Carlson. This is before he got fired. Tucker Carlson's television show on Fox News has been separated out. Jesse Waters has his own show. He's been separated out. We see Fox News TV, Fox News Web, Fox News Business. So we're seeing those separated. That's because the content has gotten different ratings, and we're seeing those in different areas of the chart. CNN TV and CNN Web is the same thing, and they're in different areas of the chart between 2018 and 2023. So I'm going to switch back and let you see that one more time. So here's 2018 and here's 2023. Something else I want you to notice is this bottom square in the red. So at the bottom, we see an imbalance between the far left and the far right. That should be concerning. Now, that doesn't mean that there aren't any voices in the far left, but it does mean that there are a lack of voices that are making the chart. We're not really seeing any of those far left voices enough to make the chart. They're not getting attention. But we do see a lot of screaming, loud, far right voices. And they are so far right that where you see InfoWars, let's go back to 2018, where InfoWars, this is Alex Jones, and Breitbart were at the bottom, these extreme far right voices that are known for a lot of conspiracy theories. Those were at the bottom. Now they've moved up, and we have even more extreme right voices at the bottom. So we're seeing a lot of shifts here. You'll see even Joe Rogan has appeared in 2023. He appeared in previous charts, but he's in the center. And as we move forward to the current chart, you're going to see he even shifts. So we're starting to see more in the middle, in the center, in the yellow box. And we still have AP, but at the top in the media, we now see Pew Research Center. Pew Research Center is major think tank research center. You're going to see anything that you have with Pew Research Center, highly, highly respected research across the world, actually. So when you see something come out from the Pew Research Center, they are very, very center related. They do a lot of polls, a lot of political polls. They'll do a lot of analysis. Anytime you see something come out of the Pew Research Center, you can pretty much respect that their methodology is sound. Many researchers will use the research coming out of Pew Research Center. When you see news articles refer to Pew Research Center, then of course you want to verify the information no matter where it comes from, because you want to make sure that that information is verifiable. But you want to kind of check and see, are they using that information appropriately? The AP is, like I said, AP is still there. Reuters, you'll see some of the new news entities that are still there, and then some of the old ones. Kind of look to see where maybe areas like the New York Post or Daily Mail or some of the others that you might recognize, Daily Cause, Palmer Report, those have kind of shifted around a little bit. You might recognize some and maybe want to investigate some of the others. So let's take a look at what is happening today. We have a January 2026, and this is the most recent chart. So you can see that this one has shifted a little bit more. The colored boxes have shifted. So the yellow is no longer just a rectangle, it's more of a U shape. And the green box goes down a little bit further. We still have Pew Research Center, and even though AP is not up there, it would still fit up there. The orange box is a little bit thinner, which is interesting. The red box is there, and we now have some far left voices. So that's really interesting. We also see that the middle is filling in the orange and yellow, and I'm not sure how to feel about that. So that's something to consider. You'll notice that Joe Rogan, which is really interesting, he has moved a little bit towards the right. For years, he was right smack in the center. So that's interesting. There's some new people on the far right voices, and I think that's all also interesting. Uh, Fox News has pretty much stayed the same. CNN will be there. There's some new voices that are coming up in the chart. I think that that's also interesting. So kind of take a look. They are for the Adfontes Media, they're trying to look at some of the newer media outlets in their stories and what's happening. Now, when you go to Adfontes Media, and I encourage you to do so, they do have a really neat, let me go ahead and close out of this. They do have a really neat website. They have an interactive chart that you can check out. And I think that that might be interesting for you. So you can look at the interactive chart and even take out maybe like the TV podcast. You can look at only certain ranges and everything and kind of experiment stuff. So I think that this chart can actually help us do a lot of different things. As we move forward, one of the things that you'll be able to do is look at where our articles are coming from. This chart is really interesting because it helps us look at not only the political spectrum of media outlets, but also the reliability of information and the validability, or that is not the word, how valid the source is. I can't talk. It's getting kind of late. So how valid and reliable the source information is and where it actually fits. Not all companies are going to give us this type of information. And I think that that's allows us to see where the companies, the media outlets actually fit. So that's going to help us as we move forward, as we get into our research. We're going to use the website allsides.com, and that is going to really inform us on our articles. Check out that website because it's going to give us a lot of information. The next video is going to help us move forward in the notes on how to detect bias in the news. I'm going to give you a handout that you can print out. It's going to be about the bias in the news, but I'm going to talk about each one and kind of give you some examples. I'll walk you through those ideas and I'll talk about the worksheets. I'm going to talk about how to do the bias kind of ideas. And then we're going to get into using allsides.com. I'll walk you through those ideas and how to find the roundups. So I hope this kind of explains a little bit. I know the charts look a little bit confusing, but maybe it'll kind of demystify those ideas. It will help you as we move forward. So I hope you kind of understand what's going on a little bit more. If you guys have any questions at all, please contact me because I want to make sure that we're getting the information down. Uh, don't let this kind of confuse you too much. It'll start coming together as we move forward. Uh, Contact me anytime and let me know if you have any questions. Thank you for spending your time with me. Remember, Piper People rock, and have a great day. Thank you so much. I love you guys. Bye.